Hey you're watching a clip from the DynamiteGizmo podcast. This is not the full episode, but if you want to see the full episode, make sure to click the link in the description. And remember, like, comment, subscribe. Do it now! Here's the clip. There's definitely fights that you can avoid because it might be boring, but if there are any fights that you for sure should watch, these are the ones. The one I'm pretty stoked for is Navajo Sterling versus Ivan Erslan. And not for Ivan, but because of Navajo, which is the first prelim of the night. They open up the prelims. Navajo is the guy you want to look out for. Similar to Malcolm Wellmaker that I mentioned in the last episode, Navajo is an up-and-comer new prospect in the UFC. And he's doing very well. I mean, he's only had one debut fight, but currently he is 6-0, so he's completely undefeated, winning his way through the Contender Series and won his debut fight in the UFC. He's looking really good. I like the way he's heading, and I'm liking these up-and-comer guys coming into the UFC undefeated and staying that way. Now, mind you, Peyton Talbot fucked that up for us. But at least we got Malcolm Wellmaker and Navajo Sterling to look out for. This is one that I'm really looking forward to. Now, another one you should watch out for is Benoit Saint Denis versus Kyle Propolek. Now, originally, this was supposed to be Saint Denis versus Yoel Alvarez, which would have been fucking sick. But Yoel had to fucking back out like the little bitch that he is. I'm just kidding, Yoel. You're not a bitch. I don't know what happened. Maybe he got injured, just like every other person in the UFC lately. I don't know. Now, similar to Navajo and Malcolm Wellmaker, Benoit was at one point one of those prospects that everyone had high hopes for. He did lose, now mind you, he did lose his debut fight in the UFC, but then went on to win his next 5 fights in a row, winning 2 Performance of the Night bonuses and a Fight of the Night bonus, until he faced Dustin Poirier, which brought him his loss after 5-fight win streak. And immediately after that, he left the UFC and fought in an organization called ADXC. He won that match, then came back to the UFC to fight Renato, however you say it, Moicano, headlining a fight night in his home country of France. And unfortunately, he lost due to an eye injury doctor stoppage. Again, we're getting lots of eye injuries. Lots of them. Where's Trevor Whitman, dude? So even though he is on a 1-fight losing streak as it sits right now, in the UFC only, he is on a 2-fight losing streak. So this is one of those fights that's really going to make or break Benoit. Now, the guy he is fighting is not nearly as dominant as Yoel Alvarez, so I imagine Benoit is going to blow through him like nothing. But Yoel was really the determining factor that would have made or break Benoit Saint Denis. But we don't really get to see that. But at least we still get to see Benoit fight. So there's that. He's a French man in Montreal. Okay, and then another fight that we have, which I guess would be the last fight I have to mention that you should watch out for, is Jose Aldo versus Ayman Zahabi. Okay? Now, it goes without saying, we already know, or you already know, or maybe you don't, but Jose Aldo is a legend in the sport. Like, by far, one of the iconic legends of the UFC. He's getting old now, but he is ranked still in the bantamweight division. He's number 11. And he's going up against Zahabi, who happens to be a Canadian from Montreal. So he's fighting in his home fucking province, which is nice. And I think he's the only one. There are a lot of Canadians on this card, but I think he's the only one that's actually from Montreal. I might be wrong about that. But Zahabi is a younger man who's rising up in the ranks. He's quite hungry to get to the top. So a win over Jose would be an excellent name on the resume, of course. Plus, it would push him ahead to the number 11 spot because I think he's 13 or 15 or somewhere right now. So Zahabi, this is the other thing. Zahabi is also going to have George St. Pierre in his corner, which will be not only a bonus, but it'll be nice to see George, back in Montreal, back in the UFC. That'll be cool. So this one is really hard to say what's going to happen, but I imagine Zahabi will take the win. Jose Aldo is coming off a loss to Mario Bautista, but prior to that, he was on a 3-fight, 1-draw streak. But 3 of those fights were outside of the UFC, unfortunately. And the 1 draw was to Jeremy Stephens, so we don't even know how that would have went. And before that, Jose lost to Merab on UFC 278 in 2022. So I would have to assume that Jose's career is coming to a close fairly soon, and this is just going to be one of those fights that really pushes him over the edge. And we don't get to see much more good out of this boy.
Tap here to watch the full episode of the Dynamite Gizmo podcast.